Welcome back to Seat Time. We are loaded up and we are getting ready to head to the last National Enduro of the 2025 National Enduro Series. It's crazy to think that this is the last race. It would be the 9th race, but it's actually the 8th because Louisiana got canceled. But in the long run, it's been an amazing year with a lot of learnings. Before we totally get into this, remember guys, if you have not subscribed, please consider doing that. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. And one thing that you learned from this video, from the things that I learned, that I talk about, I want to know what that is in the comments. So please get crazy. I'm headed to Vicksburg tonight because it is Friday, October 31st. Happy Halloween to those of you that are out there. And we will get there tomorrow. Of course, I'll take you on the journey. We'll find a coffee shop and we will get ourselves to the Gobbler Getter in Alabama. Let's hit the road. I made it to the Perry Mountain Motorcycle Club. This place is super nostalgic. Growing up here, coming with my dad way back in the day, growing up in Louisiana. Now we're here for the 2025 to finish out the National Enduro Series. It seems insane to see all of these campers here parked, ready to finish out the season. I did find a coffee shop and got myself a coffee there in Vicksburg, Mississippi. So thank you to Cafe Parado. I don't know, y'all tell me in the comments how you think it goes. Tomorrow's gonna be interesting. We have a couple long tests. So we got an 8-mile test, a 10-mile test, and an 8-mile test to get started. Then we come back to gas. And when we come back to gas, that is gonna be here. And then after that, 4, 5, and 6, we loop back around to the gas. So that is gonna be nice. But we have a longer test in test 4, a short test, I think like 5 miles in test 5, and then we are gonna have a 10-mile test to finish out the day. It is gonna be a long day to finish this thing out. In the long run though, the 53 miles doesn't seem like a lot, but I have a feeling that it's the A-only test to finish it off, and it's 10 miles long. The temperatures and the conditions seems like they're gonna be really good, but I think attrition's gonna play a good part. So stay on top of the nutrition, stay on top of the hydration, and make sure that you just go and kicking ass and taking names into that last test. I'm gonna try to keep my head about me this time, right? I think one of the reasons that I was doing so bad previously is that I was just trying so hard to have a good result that it's like when things got in the way, when I crashed, when I did anything stupid, I just got really pissed at myself. Shit happens. I'm gonna make mistakes. This is an enduro. It's not a 20-minute race, right? It's pretty much 5 hours on the bike and 6 different test sections. So if something happens, I gotta keep my head about me. Guys, let's go enjoy this last race of the 2025 National Enduro Series. Thanks for following along. See you in test 1. Thanks TJ for the support. Here's a look at the epic transfer trail that we had from mile 0 to about mile 1.9. But let's get into test number 1. And here we go. As it turns out, I was the fastest guy on our row. Our NE2 rider did not show up, and the 8 racers that we were supposed to have were not there. We only had 4 or 5 on the day, and you can see the whoops that they just hammered us directly into. It was a heck of an epic start. Woohoo!
Awesome.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Was it tight enough?
No, it was wide open.
Woohoo!
Test 1 did put us into some tight, piney woods, but it got much tighter and much more technical later on. It was one of those really fast, fun, flowy sections, though the way that it twisted actually made it kind of hard to understand how and where to attack. You had to be really smart with the way that you carried momentum in these sections. Reliving this downhill weavy trail gives me goosebumps because during the race it was one of the most fun trails on the day. You didn't have to work too hard to keep up your speed because of the downhill action, and then the way that it weaved and jumped through the trails was a ton of fun. And then of course, getting passed by Jack was interesting in and of itself because he left me so quickly.
Woohoo!
All day, I tried to keep the term focused intensity on my mind. Of course, we want to think about pulling the mental tear off when we start to let our mind wander, but focused intensity was one of those areas where it kept me about 5% underneath what would have been 100%. In the long run, it turned out actually really good for me. I got third in the class behind Kyle McAfee and Hans Neff, and I was 67th overall. So to start the day, that's not too bad.
We're getting ready to go into test 2, and test 1 was a lot of fun. Fuck yeah, that was fun. And I'm not gonna lie, when I hit mile 5, because it was an 8-mile test, but I knew we were going to 10, I was like, oh sweet, we're halfway through it. And then I hit mile 6, and I was like, wait, now we're halfway through it. And that's what it felt like it was a fun test, but it was really rough. They had a lot of whoops in the woods and stuff like that. Not as bad as Sumter. And then about halfway through, they put us in some really tight stuff. It did open up every now and again. In the long run, that was a really fun test. And it was really hard to charge. I don't know how I did. We'll see in the long run, but we're getting ready to go into test 2. Test 2 is a little bit longer.
Test 2 was longer than test 1, but it was also a lot faster. Even though it was 2 miles longer, our times were about a minute or 2 faster. During the break, I went 2 clicks out on the rebound on my forks. It felt like they were stacking up as I was going through the whoops. This helped, but after this test, I actually added more compression to the front fork and the rear shock while also removing some high speed compression from the shock. Watching Jack hammer that turn was dang impressive. It just shows how much attack these guys have. They're giving it 5, 10, 15% more when it opens up, and they're just braking so much harder than we are. That's definitely something for us to take away. Those guys obviously did not learn from Jack's attacking lessons or his braking lessons. Coming up here though, Braden Baisley catches me, and man, we have 30 seconds of fun. As we were approaching this darker loam, I could feel my heart rate pegging, and then I kind of made that mistake, and up here I made another little mistake, and I was like, okay, cool, that was awesome. I'm gonna bring it down another couple notches and try to stay alive. This turn coming up is interesting because I noticed it's a little off camber, and if I lay on the front brake too much, it could wash out. So I actually stood up and laid on the rear brake, and it worked really well.
My hair right now is pretty phenomenal. I hope you guys are enjoying this. Test 2 was 10 miles long, and it was super fun because what they did is they really gave us like a lot of open, fast, fun stuff that went into some tight stuff. But we got out of the tight stuff pretty quick, so that was nice to get out of the tight stuff quick. Somebody was saying what's coming up is a little bit more of the 24-hour test, so we'll see if that's the case, right, going into test 3. But it's another 8-mile test section, so we come out at about 28 miles right there at camp, and then we'll gas up and get ready for 3 more. I can tell that the legs and the quads and the clutch are gonna be really tired by the end of the day. Let's get to it.
Sections like this are what made test number 3 the most fun on the day. There were whoops, but they were very flowy, and there were trees, but you could kind of just flow through and with them. It was a cool section.
Thanks. Yeah, buddy. On your left.
When I'm passing somebody and I'm conscious of someone coming up on me, or maybe someone I just passed, I try to be helpful to those we are passing by saying one more. Sometimes I get it, sometimes I don't. Unfortunately, this time when Jack passed me, I stalled the motorcycle. Braden rode away from me a lot quicker this time, even though I was trying to stick with him, but the trail was a lot faster, and I could tell that he was hammering down in those open trails. Placement-wise, test 3 was my best placement on the day. I was actually 48th overall, but Hans Neff in my class beat me by 11 seconds. That is just insane that we were that close. But Kyle McAfee, who won our class in this test, was 1 minute and 2 seconds faster than me. It's insane. Just for reference though, Braden was 14th overall in this test, and he was 2.5 minutes faster than me. It is crazy how much these guys hold it open.
Woohoo! Thanks, guys! Yeah, Josh Sean! Woo! Hell yeah, guys, we're about to go into test 5, so we got test 3 and test 4 done. Test 3 was really cool because it was kind of like a mix of test 1 and 2. So they had some tight stuff, they had some open stuff, had a little bit of like all the things. It was really fun. It was a little bit longer, so this past one was just under 8 miles, if I remember, for test 4. It would seem like it got a little bit more technical. In the sense that we got a little bit more off-camber, like different bits like that. So it was a good test.
As I was getting more comfortable and charging harder and faster into some of the deeper whoops, I was wondering when something like that was going to happen, but the front end dropped a lot more than I thought it was going to in that whoop. I leaned back, I puckered up and prepped for chaos, but luckily enough, I came out alive. Test 4 would hit a lot of open sections where you could haul the mail and then drop you into more wooded sections. They started to introduce more off-camber during this test section, which again, made it a little bit more technical.
Holy fuck! Woo!
Coming up on riders spread across the trail like this is a situation where you have to act fast, and that's one of the things I've been trying to be a little bit better at, instead of sitting there and thinking, okay, can they get out of my way? How do I just keep moving forward? 14 minutes into this test section, and Jack is catching me from 2 minutes back. We've got about a third left to go. I did dab my right knee pretty good.
Oh, fuck me. Ouch.
And it was like, "Argh!" And that's the one I hurt at Golden Eagle. Test 4 was 7.2 miles long. I finished it in about 22 minutes and 24 seconds. Brandon Whitehead in the 45A class beat me by 2 seconds. A couple passing mishaps, dabbing my knee, little things like that. But just so you know, Jack Walker, who passed me, beat me by 3 minutes, and he started 2 minutes behind me. Insane. Woo! My quads though, oh my God. All the standing up and sitting down, like, and the whoops and everything, holy smacks. We're getting ready to go into test 5. It's the shortest on the day. I think it's just under 6 miles. So we're gonna hit that really quick, come in, and then we got a 10-mile A only section. So I'm sure they're gonna just hammer us in the gross, crawly stuff. Cool. Test 5 was a cool grass track that kind of got us in there. It didn't actually get tight in there, had a little bit of bits and bobs. In the long run, it was just a fast, fun test. Grass tracks are a great place to play with line choice. Try to go a little bit wider as you enter the turn so you can exit more on the inside. In those first few, I was doing an okay job, but now what I really start to do is go a little bit wider and then float more to the inside. In some of the wider turns, you can still stay outside and then you can cut inside. Now here's a good example where I kind of like really went wide because I tried to come inside to then be more on the outside for the next turn. So you don't always have to follow the main line. If you want to learn more about line choice, listen to the interview with Barry Hawk. But I saw Brock sitting on the side of the trail.
Yeah, buddy.
And then it just like, it was this hard left-hand turn that kind of dropped in. Too much front brake knocked me into the trees there, and then it was like awkwardly stuck. When I first tried to lift it up, I was like, oh, it's not moving. So I had to like really lift it up. So in the long run, it should have just been like 2 or 3 seconds, but it took me probably about 10 seconds. I wanted to use this as another way to learn about line choice. You can see I kind of freaked out and slowed way down to make that left-hand turn, when in reality, I could have stayed outside the ribbon and made that left-hand turn. Apparently the tree I hit did more damage to the number plate than I thought it did.
Hey. Woohoo!
We got 10 miles left, the A only section. I have a feeling that they're just gonna give it to us and it's gonna be a damn good time getting our ass whooped.
22D.
I started cramping in that last test and I've been doing a pretty good job staying up. But you know what? We're gonna see what happens. Let's just take this bad boy. Oh, that's disgusting. That was a really bad idea. I don't recommend that everybody. We'll see if I cramp or shit myself.
Holy shit. Oh, man. Woo. Don't get scared. Ride the trail.
Little moments like that were happening all throughout the beginning of test 6. Instead of focused intensity, I would override, scare myself, and have to slow down. And then I kept having moments like this. I think my bars were a little bit more tweaked than I thought they were from hitting the trees in test 5, but this off-camber coming up is awesome. The GoPro does not do that section justice because of how raw that single track was. There was no cut-in, so you really had to weight the outside peg. They really did throw all the stops at us in this test. It was very technical, and I could tell, especially while rewatching the footage, I was just not attacking like I was earlier in the day.
Oh, fuck it. Come on, Brian.
The way I screwed up that tight turn is a great example of where I lost time throughout this entire test section. I wasn't flowing very well and I wasn't carrying my momentum, so I was always trying to make up speed or create speed. Not a great way to ride fast in technical terrain.
Test 6 was an amazing last test. It was 10 miles and it was very technical. I felt like I actually rode pretty good for the first half. When Jack and Braley passed me, I felt like it was around about the same time in the test, which is about halfway through. But honestly, after that, I really did drop off my pace. We were about 2 miles from the end, maybe about 1.5 miles or 2 miles from the end, and Hans Neff caught me. And he and I were between 10 and 30 seconds apart all day. So for him to catch me and essentially drop me, like, it shows how much my pace dropped off. And for that last, like, I did kind of try to stay with him for a little bit, but honestly, I just didn't have it, and that sucks. But that was, you know, that's a true day of racing and enduro, is when that kind of stuff happens. And you just have to be in the right shape, you have to be well fed, well hydrated, and in tune with the bike all day long. And in that last test, in the last couple miles, I wasn't.
I would be doing y'all a large disservice if I did not show you the last 2 hill climbs that I did okay on, but in the long run, you can tell the way that I rode them that I was very much struggling. At the time, I didn't realize why I had lost that momentum, but I saw that root in that tree sticking out, and it looks like my rear tire kind of caught that, and then I noticed that Whitmere catches and passes me. Now, apparently, Nolan Knight was right behind him. Now, I had just passed Nolan Knight, and I did not realize that Nolan Knight had caught back up. But of course, he decided to curse at me because obviously I was doing that on purpose.
I got a chance to drive home and think about this entire year, and it has been an amazing experience. I, of course, am gonna do not only a full recap episode, so all the things that I've kind of learned on the year, but I'm also gonna do a 4-stroke versus 2-stroke video. So a lot of people have asked me what I've thought about the 4-stroke, and I do believe that there are things that I could learn that could help other racers and other riders either make a decision on the bike that they may choose, or how to be a more efficient rider or racer on the style of motorcycle they have. And obviously by style, I mean 4-stroke or 2-stroke in that regard. The way that Hans Neff beat me in the last race of the year, where in the first 5 tests, I was firing on all cylinders, proves that he is the 450A national champion, right? In the sense that, like, going in, like, maybe if I had beat him, there was a chance. And it's like, no, there wasn't. From the first race of the year, he got 2nd place and was between 1st, 2nd, and I think a 3rd in there. It's just awesome to see that consistency that he had. And even he wasn't happy with the way that he was riding, got a new bike, reworked the way that he was attacking this stuff. And it's just so cool to see that happen. It's easy for me to be like, well, I'm the first loser, right, in that. But when it comes to the national series and the points, yes, I'm 2nd place. But when I look at the growth that I've had over this entire year, I'm also a winner, but I'm a winner for me. And that is more important, because I can take those learnings throughout the rest of my life than how important it would have been to try to be able to even compete for 1st place. And then I think that's the comparison that I'm trying to make here, is like, nowhere throughout the year was I ever competing for 1st. There were times that I had glimpses of speed and I might beat somebody in a test here and there, but consistently, not only throughout an entire race and or throughout an entire year, was I ever able to come out on top. And that is something that I'm just gonna have to take with me for the rest of my life. I'm not gonna be following the Nationals next year unless I were to win the lottery. I don't see that happening anytime soon, unless anybody wants to, you know, make about a $20,000 donation to Seat Time for next year so we can make more content. I do have some ideas. Again, to what I said earlier in the intro, if there's anything you've learned from watching these videos, I wanna know about it in the comments. If you have any thoughts for me, as always, please leave them. It was a great, amazing race and way to wrap up the season. So I really appreciate all the friends that I got to make and meet, all the racers and riders that said hi and that they enjoy the videos. I do this to make sure that we're all able to enjoy getting seat time, whether that's those that are trying to better themselves as a racer or rider, or those that are just trying to live vicariously because they can't get out and ride as much as others that are out there. So guys, enjoy getting seat time. And if I don't get a chance to see you on the trail, we'll see you here. Make sure you subscribe, thumbs up. We'll see you for the next one. Peace.